Hello and welcome to an installation demonstration of KISS Linux. KISS Linux is an independent distro that has now been available on a pre-release since June 18, 2018, to fully become released 6 days later on June 24th, making it now available for almost a year and a half at the time of this recording. To make KISS Linux has an installation style like Arch Linux, while compiling packages like Gentoo with more simplicity in mind thanks to the exclusive package manager called KISS, which has been rated completely in Bash. This demonstration will show how this distro is installed by using the VmWare Workstation 16 Pro virtualization software with a VM that will use the UEFI firmware boot method and the Arch Linux Live Boot CD. This will allow to save approximately 4 hours to anyone who would like to try it themselves, since completion time is edited for this video, plus all the extra time needed just to understand some components of the official documentation by either making clarifications on them or by making some minor modifications to help out the installation to become successful. So, with no further ado, let's start this VM. This one has 2 core, 3 gigs of RAM, and a 40 gig hard drive. I downloaded the latest Arch Linux ISO, and I booted under the UEFI firmware method. I press enter. Now from here, there's a couple of stuff I would like to do. And the first one is that it will be needed to download the latest version of the KISS Linux star file, and the wget is not installed. So I'm gonna have to install this. Good. Now the second thing I would like to do is to make an SSS connection. It is much easier to just copy paste instructions as opposed to type them one by one, which is prone to error. So let's do this. Now I need to make a connection with the root account. So I need to reset the password because I don't know what that is. And I need to know the IP address. So what I'm going to do here is full screen. So I need to make an SSS connection. And I'm in. I can now minimize that. The first thing the installation says is that disk should be set up and fully mounted to /MNT. That's very minimalistic. There's nothing else in this documentation that I've seen so far that fully explain how to create partitions for MBR or for UEFI. So this demonstration will show you one way of doing it. It's pretty standard for me in terms of if you do that, it works all the time. That's pretty much the way I make it work. It's not about performance, it's about functionality. The first one is I need to determine what kind of disk I have. And it says that I have a 40 gig hard drive. It's right here under dev SDA. So I will do that. And initially it says that it created a new disk label. And under UEFI, it has to be GPT. So I just press G, and now it's a new GPT. After that, I press N for a new partition. The default enter for sector, enter. The last sector, I don't want to put, those numbers. I just want to put the size here. So I will do 512 meg, which is enough to put the kernel and the grub files. My second partition will be my swap. I just normally use 1 gig more than the memory. So currently it's 3, so I will put 4. And the last one is the root. I just press enter. If I press P, it shows everything. And it's really important under the UEFI to change the type to determine what it is. In order to do that, you have to press T, and the partition is 1. I know this by heart, by the way, so don't worry about it. And now it says that it changed the Linux file systems to the EFI system for the first one. Let's do the second one. So the second one, it will be 19 for the swap. So change the partition type Linux to swap. And the third one will be 24. And now I change to Linux root. So if I press P, It shows all three. So I can just write this off and I'm good to go. Now from here, I need to format them. Under the UEFI standard, the first partition has to be DOS, has to be FAT32. It is important because the driver has been included in the firmware. So there's a unification between manufacturers that they've decided that the UEFI partition will be FAT32, and we're going to include the driver in the firmware in order to connect successfully. That's the reason why it has to be FAT, because the driver is already in the firmware. So in order to do that, we do this, FAT32, and the first partition. Second one is the swap, and I'm going to activate it. And the third one, I'm going to choose ext4. Again, it's for convenience because when you compile the kernel, by default, this one is normally selected. So there's nothing to worry too much about it. And the UEFI, the FAT is already selected. So normally there's not too many modifications to make in the kernel when you do this. It's always the best when you want to play around. Just use this one. Here we go. So all three of them have been formatted. So now we have to mount them. So I'm going to mount the root. See? I'm going to make a directory for the boot. I'm going to mount the boot like this. So that clears up the section where it says disk should be set up and fully mounted /MNT. So I can scroll down a little bit. Now we have to declare a variable. Now that's the beauty of doing an SSH. I can just copy and paste all the time. Boom, that easy. Imagine typing this manually one by one. It's just prone to make errors eventually. So this is good when you do Arch Linux, when you do Gentoo, Linux from scratch, anything which requires typing. It's always better to do it that way. Now I'm getting pretty much the operating system. Done. Verify the checksums recommended. For me, this is like a two-liner in order for me to probably save a lot of time. Nothing is worse than to download the tar, extract successfully, but one of the files are corrupted. And then you just lost 2-3 hours of installation time because now you cannot move forward. So if you just copy twice, copy paste, it's going to tell you if the download has been successful. It is. And now you just save yourself a lot of time. It's always worth doing it. In terms of the signature, it's really up to you. Like I said, for me, it's 1, 2, and 3-liner. Why not, This is just to make sure that nothing has been tempered, nothing has been hijacked. Oops. Yep. So the first one is the download. And then we have to get the key. It's been imported successfully. Now it's time to verify. So it's a good signature from Dylan. Now there's a warning. The warning is because this hasn't been signed, and there's no point of signing it since this is a live CD and I'm going to lose everything eventually. So I'll keep it as such. But eventually we will do sign it inside the KISS Linux operating system. So, down. Time to go to the mount folder. And now we need to extract. Now I'm not going to put path2 because it's downloaded there. Oh, good. Now it's asking to enter the chroot. There's a little bit of explanation how this goes. Now, there's something I like to do. And what it is basically is I like to create my /etc/fs tab using the Arch Linux gen fs tab command. So that way I don't have to do it myself manually later on. So it's a little trick. That way, if I go there, I can see my 3 partitions. It's all in there. There's nothing else to do. So for me, it's something I like to do. Saves me some time. Not easy to figure that out that it is fs mask 0022 and stuff like that. I just like it when it's automatic. Now that it's being done, now I can actually shoot here. And I'm in. So from here, let's go to the next step. You have to set up the repositories. The repository system is quite different than other distributions. There's a kisspath variable that needs to be set up in order to make it work. And we're using repos as Git. So what it's telling you basically here is that, I think this needs to be full screen. Eventually, you're going to have to download the repos with this command. You have to git clone your repos. There's one which is the official from KISS, and there's another one from the community where people are doing it and contributing. There's another one, Universe. We're not going to touch that. We're going to use those two. It's telling you, you can decide what you want to do. You can put it whatever you want, as long as you put it to a kisspath variable so that the system knows when it's trying to install where to go. That path needs to be loaded up. An example is if you put it to the profile of your home folder. So if you put it there as an example, you log in as root, and then it's going to do all those kiss path variables. So that way, when you do a kiss install or a kiss update or anything that needs to be done, it's going to go to those paths and see where it is and do the installation. Quite simplistic in nature. The problem is that if you follow this example, if you just say, yep, I'll do exactly what it says, eventually, if you go lower, it's going to ask you to do an installation. But when you're going to do an installation, it's not going to work because it's going to try to go to places where it doesn't exist. And one of them is this. It's going to tell you, hey, go there and do the signature. Well, this is not what's is there as an example. It becomes a little bit confusing, to be honest with you. The worst part about all this is that the previous documentation, the previous versions wasn't like that. It was actually quite simpler. And now they've decided to give you more choices, making it more complicated. The more choices you have, the more open it is, the more complicated it gets. That's the nature of KISS Linux and any distros that decides to put more choices. It gets more complicated because people needs to make that choice. So for me, what I decide to do for all this and to make sure that everything works, right, there's a couple things that I will do. The first one is that I'm going to use it the old style. I'm going to actually modify not the profile as, the local profile of root. I'm going to do this kisspath.sh. That was part of the old documentation. So regardless of who logs in, the kisspath variable will kick in. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. And then here I have some text. I'm going to just put that in there, and I'm going to put a lot of goodies, which I will explain what it is. So when somebody logs in, now I'm going to put all those repos under var dbkiss, which is compliant to the file hierarchy system 3.0 of Linux. So var is the right place. So it's already in there in terms of installation of KISS packages. So I'm going to put my repos there. That's how it used to be anyway. In terms of KISS variables, I'm going to remove the personal games and the personal web. Because first of all, it's only a demonstration. I'm not going to use that. And second of all, if I put that in there and I don't create at least empty directories, when I'm going to do a KISS update, it's not going to work. So I'll just remove those two. In terms of those flags, basically, if you follow a little bit below, it's going to tell you to do that manually. If you go to below, let me just find it. So it's all done here, which is far away. It will ask you to do that, and then you can compile everything. But if you just do it like that way, and then everything is good, and you reboot and you log in, and you start compiling more, then those flags won't be there. You would have to do it manually, and why doing that? So this is part of the profile. So when somebody logs in, you can compile using those flags. Finally, the export kiss is used to fix a bug. But that's even worse. So if you go here at one point, going to ask you to do a kiss update. And there it's below. Yeah, it's much below. My bad. Do this, you do that, and you do a kiss update. When you do a kiss update, what's going to happen? It will tell you, okay, no problem. There's a couple of packages that needs to be updated, but I need to update kiss first. So you do the update, and then after that, it tells you run the kiss update again. So if you don't read properly, you would do the kiss update, make an update, and you would just move forward. But he only updated the kiss. When you do the kiss update again, there's an error message, and it's telling you that the kiss underscore su variable hasn't been set, and you have to set it up to something, and nothing happens. So you have to set up this variable to su. When this is done, then the kiss update works. So this export fixes a problem in the long run. So as you can see, this section is quite problematic, especially on the KISS update, where I had to go to the KISS Linux Reddit forums and saw the answer there. So this will save you all this work, all those problems in the long run by doing that. This will be put in the description of this video so that you don't, so you need to do what to do, basically. Okay? Let me save this. And then I have to run it. Then I will double check. We'll do an echo. And it's all good. Perfect. So now we have to do the official repositories. So for the KISS. So this is the place where I put my variable. So time to clone. So the repo has been downloaded. Now we have to do the community as well. All done. Universe, we don't have to do that, but there's a lot of good stuff. If you go there, you'll see some GitHubs from other people, including fonts and stuff like that. It's pretty good. But for this demonstration, I will not do anything. Now I will enable the repository sign-in. And now I will start by installing this software in order to do that. So KISS is the package manager, which is all programmed in Bash. Build is the command. As you can see, you have to do build and install, unless there's more than one. If you have KISS build and you have more than one, it will not ask you to install. But since there's only one, it's going to ask you to install. That helps for the reason why it's been like that, and that's my guess, is when it has to build some dependencies. So you can see it's going to, you see install one, it's going to say I have to install some dependencies. It will do it automatically, and then you have to do the install for the last one. So let me do the build. And this is working, which means that my KISS path variable is fine. Pretty good. Now let's do the KISS install. All done. Then you have to import balance key. We just installed the GPG. That's exactly what we just did. And again, a good reason why copy paste is fine, because a lot of times this can be prone to errors. So you just do this. The key has been imported successfully, and now you have to trust it. I really like the way it's being done, because normally it's a couple of commands. So I really like this one. Okay, it's been trusted. And now we have to enable the signature verification. And because of the way I've made it, this will work straight. And now it says rebuild KISS. This step is entirely optional. It can be done post-installation. So from here, it's telling you you can do the flags, which I already done it. So we're good for this one. And it's telling you to do a KISS update. So let's do that. KISS update. And now it detected all those packages. But then it says the package manager will be updated first, which is KISS. What you want to do? I want to press enter. And as you can see, it says rerun KISS update. A lot of people might say, oh, I'm done, I'm going to continue. But no, you have to do it again. So let me do it again. And this is working because of the variable that I've put, the KISS SU variable. If that has not been set, you get an error message saying this hasn't been set. So just save this problem. I'm going to press enter. And there's 5 of them to be updated. And now it's all done. Just to triple check. Do another KISS update. And I'm good to go. All right. So I think this one was really important just on the fact that it was updating the KISS package manager. So for me, it's really important to do that. So if you continue, rebuild all packages. So basically what it's telling you is that if we go there, we can run this command, KISS build and install. And like I said earlier, if you put more than one, which isn't the case, it will do the installation for you. It's going to go through all those which came with KISS Linux when you downloaded the tar, and you're going to recompile it so it can use the C flags and optimize better to your OS. So I think this is something which is pleasant to do, which is pretty good. I think people should do that normally, but in this case, I would say to skip it for one reason. Not everyone will actually do copy paste and do exactly what I'm saying. This is only a demonstration, and problems will occur to a point where you got to say, you know what, let me restart from scratch. And you probably want to save this step. This step is more than an hour, right? So you want to save this step, especially if you do everything, doesn't work, then you start from scratch and you say, okay, probably I should have done that. Yes, it is more effective if you do that and you do everything else and everything works the first time, but most likely it's not going to happen. So skip this step. I will skip this step for this demonstration, but after it's all done, after it's working fine, nothing stops you after logging as root to just do this. You go to this directory, you do this command, rebuild everything, just launch it before you go to bed. In the morning, it's done, right? So let's continue here. So the file system utilities is telling you, okay, why don't you install whatever you want for the file system you need. So me, I'm using ext4. So for ext4, I have to install this. I'm going to be using FAT32 in order for the UEFI partition. The XFS, I don't really need it, but I'll just do it anyway. So let's do this one first. This. As you can see, B is for build, I for install. You don't have to put the word build or install. Both work, but much easier just with B and I. Good. So the only thing you have to do is one up. cursor, press I, enter. Yep. Let's do the VFAT. And like I said, I'm going to do the XFS as well. I won't use it, but I'll do it anyway. When you do this, it's asking you to install two dependencies. And you see util Linux. It says the same thing here. I'm going to skip it. I'm not going to do this one because I'm going to already install it here. All built. Now let's install it. All done. Device management. So for device management, like I said earlier, we have to install this, which I already did with the XFS. So I'm going to skip this part. I can just do this one. Dependencies, enter. That's good. Wi-Fi is optional, so since it's a VM, I don't need it. I'm going to skip that part. Dynamic IP optional. I'm not a big fan of static IP addresses, so I'm going to just do that. Have a DHCP. Good. Now, in this documentation, it doesn't say how to make sure that the DHCP address kicks in automatically when this will boot. So I made some research. I will put that in the video description. And those are the two commands that needs to be done. You have to create a folder and under etc/rc.d, and then you put a script in there, DHCP cd.boot, and you put this command in there. This will start DHCP cd at boot, and the two here will not display any kind of warning messages and stuff like that. So this will make sure that after this reboots, it gets a DHCP automatically, right, with the script. Okay, so now we have to do the host name. Now we'll not call it host name. I will call it, whoops. Call this, not host name, kiss Linux box. And then you have to edit file. And it doesn't really talk about what to do. So you have to do this. You have to put 127.0.0.1 kiss Linux host. So when you do that, you do ping kiss Linux host, it's going to give you the local IP address. So every time you change the host name, you have to change that. So and that's what it says here. This step must be done every time the host name is changed. The kernel. So the kernel is managed by you. Very important. There's no booting with intra RAMFS. And we have to make sure that, the file system is okay, the disk controller is present, the USB drivers are built in, everything with a core, which is yes, and no modules, right? Yes, the rest can be modules, but it's telling you, as far as you know, the file system, which is ext2, 3, 4, stuff like that, the disk controller, right? So you can see the drives. Same thing with the USB drivers, in case you want to boot with USB keys. You need to make sure it's like this, okay? So no modules because there's no init RAMFS. That's why it's so important, okay? So the way to do that, first of all, you have to install the required packages. Start with this. Enter. All it, done. Do end curses. Through. I can just install it. So now from here, we have to download the kernel sources. From here, what we have to do is to go to this site, and I'm going to open a new tab. And on this one, I will just download the latest release. So I will copy the link address. And it's quite tempting to maybe just download it there because those are the installed packages. But if you create any kind of folder which is not part of the KISS, the KISS system, it will throw you an error when it's time to install an update or anything of that nature because it's got to go to this directory. It's going to say, hey, this is not a KISS package. So it's important not to do that, not to be under install. So one above is okay. So let's do wget. Then I'm going to decompress it. I will go inside. Now from here, there's a couple of ways of configuring your kernel to make sure that it works with KISS Linux. There's a reason why I booted with Arch Linux, because when you boot with Arch Linux boot CD, normally it loads up everything that you need in order to make your session successful. So right now, all the modules are loaded into the memory. If I do ls PCI and K, you can see that my Ethernet is loaded and this is loaded, right? This is the stuff that I need, okay? There's probably like maybe 8 of them, right? So that's good stuff, but it's not everything because those are only the modules, which is located for PCI, right? There's a modules for USB and there's other modules. So this is a good start, but it's not all of it. So what we need to do here is let's go with the documentation, which talks about loading firmware blobs. We don't need it for this demonstration, so we'll just skip that. And you have to make first a default configuration. So I'm going to do that. If you do make help, okay, scroll up a little bit. It's going to tell you a feature called local yes config. Update current configuration converting local mods to core. Okay. This is the same as this one, which is update current config disabling module not loaded, except instead of putting them as just modules, it puts them as core, which is the yes, the star. Okay. Let's do this. Make local yes config. And this is what it does. It says, hey, I'm going to convert what I see in my memory loaded up already. And I'm going to convert it. But it says, hey, it's not set up yet, so I can't convert them. Oh, okay. Well, that means that I need it, right? If it's loaded thanks to the Arch Linux website, that means I need it. So I don't have to search to see what I need to activate. Now, this sounds like a lot, but a lot of them is a sub-module. And let me explain. Well, before I explain the some modules, let me explain an easy one, okay? An easy one that I know I can just do it and it's going to work pretty easily. Let's go with this, para. Para is CPI, okay? If you take this, the config para PCI, this one, you can copy that. You do a make menu config, and then you're here. / to make a search, and you paste. And then you press enter. It's going to tell you, okay, you want this? Yeah, sure. It's set up as no. Normally you would go to device drivers, cell ATA, and then you go to this one, right? So you see here, it says 1. Let me press 1, and it's right here. Then I make it as a core. Save it, exit, exit, get out of there. Let me check again. And if you check, it's gone. So I know that I've did it properly. Let me find another one. VmWGFX. Okay, that's my VMware graphic. Let's go there. DRM VmWGFX. Right click to copy. Make menu config / enter. Oh, there's 2 of them. I have this one that I'm looking for, and then I have this one too as well. Now, I know personally I need the second one because FB console is something important. That's exactly what I need when I boot up with any kind of CDs. This needs to be enabled as well, right? So you have device graphic support and this one, and then. So I press number 2, and I will activate it, and the one underneath. And then we'll press number 1, and that was it. So number 2, that was number 1, that was number 2. Okay, so I need those both. They're very important. Save. Exit, exit, exit. Let's do this again. And if you check, my VMware graphic is gone. Not a problem. Okay, now there's something really important for me to show you before I pause the video, do all of that, and continue. You see here it says Bluetooth, right? It's very generic. And it says I need to turn on Bluetooth in the configuration. And this is what I need, config_BT. Okay, if I take that, and I go to menu config, and I make a search with this, it's right here. The BT is one of them. But it says, okay, this is a subsection. BT is a subsection. It's not something, it says no in order to turn on those things. When you see that, just postpone it for later on. Because as you go, right, you might hear, you say yes, yes, no, yes, 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 yes. And it means in order for this to be a yes, that's the condition, right? For this to be a yes, this one needs to be a yes, the crypto here. Okay? And that becomes a yes. So if I copy that, make a search for this one, right? I found nothing because it's not a module. Okay? It's not a module, it's an option. So it gets a little bit difficult sometimes. Me, what I'm telling you is just to skip them for now. It's not 100% accurate in terms of figuring it out what you need on a constant basis, right? This Bluetooth here, forget about this one. Don't touch it because there's a Bluetooth USB here that might be much easier. I'm going to take this one. Go to my menu config. Let me search for that one instead. This is my Bluetooth here. Oh, that's easy. It's BT Intel, number 1. It's this one. I will select it and nothing else. I don't have to go there, okay? I just select it, save, exit, exit, exit. Let me do it again. You see, Bluetooth, it's gone. It's not there anymore, right? The Bluetooth is gone. It's pretty good. So sometimes when you play around like this, you gotta figure it out what to do next, and things go away as they go. So if you get just a section, like something in there, and it's just a section, don't touch it. Just go to the next one, and as you do the other ones, the section will disappear automatically. Okay. One last one, which is an easy one, this codec here that I need. For example, I'm going to need this. Make menu config /. Oh, I thought it was easy. I'm not going to put yes to all of them because one of them, only one of them, or maybe one or two of them, because you see a lot of yeses, will actually convert this eventually, right? And there's no numbers anyway. Even if I want a number, I mean, there's no numbers for me to choose. I cannot press one, and that's a trick too, huh? If you don't see a number, there's pretty much nothing you can do here. Just forget about it, right? Forget about that one, because I know for a fact that because I have experience on this one, that's really the one that I need for my sound. VmWare uses that one. So I will go. And that's the one here. I press number one, and that's the one that I need. Save, exit. I checked. And then you check, and then you're like, oh, look at this. Where's the sound one? Where is it? Oh, it's gone. Okay. So I will do that for all of them. I will pause the video. I will do that for all of them to prove to you that it is possible. I will continue the video, and then we can move on and finish this installation. Before we continue, I just decided to unpause the video. I've noticed that if you make a search and sometimes you put the whole thing, it finds nothing. But if you do the search again, let's say you just put this, right? It finds it for you. Okay. So, I mean, sometimes you have to play a little bit with it, and then you press one and then you go with it. Okay. So I will pause it again and continue. I'm just unpausing the video again. I'm pretty much halfway done. That took me around 10 minutes. It's not too bad, so I will just continue. Pause the video again. So it is done. If I do local yes config, it's all good. So now that we've done all the modules, let's do some housekeeping, I call. You can see here, there's a couple of modules that will show up. Not a big deal, but if you see that, just put a star. Now, in terms of, intra support, it's telling here that you don't need it. So I'm going to just remove it because Linux doesn't want it. In terms of processor type and features, if I go there, there's a couple of good stuff I can do, right, if I want to. For now, I just want to make it functional. I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is more tweaking that I can do. I will put here core. If I go back to general, the default host name, I can put this Linux box. In terms of device drivers, we've done all that. There's only one thing I would like to double check though. In terms of USB, I have my 2.0, my 3.0, my 1.1. Double check for the drives. The USB mass storage support, so I'm all good there. File system, I only need 2, and I need DOS, which is there. I did compile the 2 and the 3 in KISS Linux, so because I did that, I'm going to just do it. And I did compile as well the XFS, just because I compiled. I'm not using it, but since I compiled it, and that's it. So even if I would have not done it, I think it would have been fine, to be honest. This is more like tweaking. So I'm good to go on that one. Go back here, properties, fun. Copy this. Do this. This will take approximately, 30 minutes? So we'll just let this run and we're going to come back. Everything compiled successfully. Very good sign. Let's go to the next step, which is to install. If there's any kind of modules, it's going to appear now. Everything is good. Now to install the kernel. So this is all good. You can ignore the cannot find Lado. So now it's asking you to move this to a better name. Call it 5.9.8. This. Now we are at the bootloader. So it's telling you to make sure that the etcfs tab is ready. Let's double check. Yep, it's all good. We have the root, we have the boot, and we have swap, so it's good. To build and install Grub. Out of there. Let's build Grub. I'm gonna now install it. Now, since I'm using UEFI, I need to install this. Set up Grub. Now we don't put ESP, you have to put the boot. So this is all good, there's only warnings, but the installation is finished and no errors. Set up the config file. All done. Init scripts. Add a normal user. Done. We're not going to install Xorg for this demonstration. That takes quite a while, more than an hour. We're just going to skip that. And then from here, it's pretty much done. The previous versions of KISS Linux um, didn't have a root password. So you would reboot, put root as username, and that's it, you would get in. This one has one, but I couldn't find in any documentation what the password is. So if you reboot right now, what's going to happen is that you will try to log in and it's going to ask you for a password. You won't know what to do. And even though you log in as a normal user, you won't be able to change it because it doesn't have administrative privileges. So it's important to do it now, although it's not in the documentation. Now it's done. And now the moment of truth. Reboot. Done. When was the last time you booted and you have like what, 18 lines? Not even like half a screen. So let's check it out to see if everything worked perfectly. Sound. Oh, the sound is okay. Let's ping something. See the DHCP. Yep, so it's all good. Very happy about that. Command to check what I have. Yeah, I have controllers, my graphics. Yeah, it's exactly what it's supposed to be. Let's check my USB key. I'm gonna insert it. Yeah, it works. So everything is in order. There's pretty much nothing else. Perhaps maybe check if I can install something just to make sure. That would be there. I'm going to go to the community, because that's the way we roll at KISS Linux. And let's install, let's say, LZ4. The variables are fine. It's working. Well, that's it. This is the installation of KISS Linux. I believe this is the only one available right now that shows a full installation from the beginning to the end and something that works too. So I've noticed that if you do KISS Linux under YouTube, you're going to find other kind of results. KISS would be keep it simple, stupid. So if you would click like on this one, just to make sure to help anyone who would like to give it a shot with KISS Linux, that would be great. And subscribe it as well. Okay. So thank you very much and take care.